Welcome to Big Muddy Mayhem. This is the podcast where we talk about true crime and bad behavior in the Midwest.
Each week we'll bring you 2 stories from the heartland that might break your heart, but we hope to entertain you along the way.
I'm Tracey Laricha.
And I'm Janet O'Brien. Well, hello.
Hello, Janet.
How are you doing today?
I am doing well, thank you. I was going to say, it's been a nice weekend.
Yes.
Gotten a little bit of stuff done, and thank you for being patient. I was in the throes of finishing my story and polishing my notes when you got here.
No problem. Not at all. Did you do anything fun this weekend?
Honestly, let me think. Not really. Sorry, guys. True life. Yeah, I did a lot of stuff around the house. I've enjoyed my weekend, and it's been restful.
Good.
You hunted a whole Christmas tree today.
Yes, I did. So every year we go and, like I said before, we go and cut down a tree. Mm-hmm. And the place we've been going, actually since 1978, nobody's that old. Anyway, I was a small child when I started going. And the pandemic, as we know, kind of messed up a lot of Christmas tree places where you could go cut them down because everybody wouldn't cut them down because it was outside, right? You're stuck at home. Well, I guess we're going to decorate the house more. So a lot of these places where you can cut down your own tree, it's taken them a couple of years
to catch up.
Yeah, so first tree I walked to today.
Oh, nice. You're like, this is it.
This is it, yep.
It's a nice tree. You sent me a picture.
Yes,
it looks really nice. Pretty shapes. Looks like it doesn't have any bare spots.
Nope, it's really good. I'm very, very happy with it. Also, last night I did a Santa crawl.
Right, yes. You went to Santarkey.
Santarkey, yeah. It's run by a group of my friends, and it used to be bigger. It's kind of smaller right now, but, it kind of ebbs and flows. But it was a lot of fun. I had a good time. Got to talk to some people I don't get to talk to very often. So
fantastic.
So it was a good weekend.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Well, good. I'm glad that we both had a nice weekend. We are recording.
Yes, earlier than
normal this week.
Yeah, we have a certain friend who might be having a certain thing that she doesn't know about yet.
Okay. Well, although.
This is recorded. She won't even hear it until after it happens. So it's fine.
Okay, good. Yay.
We're all good.
All right. Well, that being said, is it time to get in the mud?
It is totally time to get muddy.
All right.
I think, am I the one starting with the
you
story
are going
this evening?
first this week. So.
Okay. So I wasn't able to find any Christmas stuff for this week. So
that's okay.
That's okay. I am going to tell you the story of Belle Gunness.
Okay.
So you may have heard about her before from a certain podcast that you listened to already.
What effort could it be? Yeah.
I don't know. She was born as, and I'm going to butcher the hell out of this name, Brynhild.
Brynhilda?
No, just Brynhild. Brynhild. It's Brynhild. So Brynhild. Paul's daughter Storseth.
Okay.
And I don't know, there's an O.
That sounds reasonable.
Yes. Yeah. She was born November 11th in 1859. They ended up naming her Hell's Bells. She was a Norwegian-American serial killer.
Uh-huh.
She was active in Illinois and Indiana between the years of 1884 and 1908.
Okay.
They know that she's probably killed at least 14 people, but probably closer to 40.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them were men. She would entice them to come visit her and make property investments with her.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. They thought that she had died in 1908 from a house fire, but she probably faked her death.
And house fire back then was a great way to do that.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes. Absolutely. Okay, so she's born in Norway, November 11th, 1959, to Paul and Berit Storseth. She was the youngest out of 8 children.
Okay.
At the age of 14, she started working for neighboring farms, milking and herding cattle to save money to go to New York City. She did this until her early 20s. So in 1881, she moved to the States, and when she was processed, she changed her first name to Belle.
Okay.
Because, a lot of places would do that. They would try to, a lot of people would do that because, you want to be more American. You want people to pronounce your name better. She ended up traveling to Chicago to join her sister Nellie, who had moved there several years before.
Okay.
She ended up living with her sister and brother-in-law, and she worked as a domestic servant. And then she ended up getting a job at a butcher's shop cutting up carcasses. So it just feels like, I feel like there's a book on how to become a serial killer.
Right, like the lifestyle really chose her at this point.
Right,
yeah,
it's like you start learning little things in your life.
I have a very particular set of skills.
Exactly. Exactly. She was a large woman for that time period. She was 5'7".
My goodness.
And she weighed 200 to 250 pounds.
Shocking.
So, and she had a strong appearance.
Mm-hmm.
She ended up marrying Mads Dittler Sorensen in 1884. They ended up owning a candy shop together. But the candy store mysteriously burnt down.
Oh, dear.
And also their house burnt down.
They have the worst luck. My goodness.
And turns out both of those buildings had insurance payouts.
Well, they have the best luck.
So I think this is where she starts dabbling into, if you have insurance on it, I can make a quick buck here or there.
Right.
And clearly he was in on this, Now, I don't know if he was in this, but this is weird. I'm confused by this one. She had 2 different babies, and they both died of inflammation of the large intestine.
Okay.
And when that happens, typically that is caused by poisoning.
Oh, no.
Both babies were insured. So she ended up getting 2 large checks. Now, here's the funny part that I was confused by. It says neighbors gossiped as she had never appeared pregnant.
So where did these babies come from?
Right, you've heard of baby farming, right? Okay, so back in the Victorian times, people who couldn't afford, they would have a kid and they're like, what do I do? And so there was somebody would end up basically adopting your child.
Okay.
And then trying to get a better home for it. Now, there's a whole nother thing that we won't do because it happened over in England where there's a lady who did this. And she would end up just killing most of the kids that she received. Yeah, baby farming was not good. It kind of ended up that way. So, I don't know. That's just my theory. I didn't read that anywhere, but that's a theory.
Got it. But you think that it might have been a baby farming
Yes.
thing.
Her husband purchased 2 life insurance policies. I don't know. I think if I was married to her, maybe I would pick up some things like, don't take an insurance policy out on myself.
Right.
Because something bad could happen.
And if you're her insurance agent, then you're either like, wow, these are like my top customers.
But you're losing a lot of money because you keep paying
you
out.
have to pay out. Right, yeah.
Right.
Like, at what point, has anyone raised an eyebrow so far?
I don't know. It's
Okay.
so, 1800s are weird, right?
Yes, they were. Woof.
People died of all sorts of things,
Mm-hmm.
If they were suggesting surgery, you'd probably go, you know what? I'll be fine.
What's there's a Facebook meme where it's like a doctor and he's like, oh yeah, it looks like you've got ghosts in your blood. You should do cocaine about it.
Right. So anyway, they get 2 life insurance policies on him. And apparently the insurance policies, they buy them on July 30th, 1900. And at one point, they're both active at the same time, as one is expiring the same day the other one starts up.
Oh, so there's no gap in coverage.
Right. So it says one would expire, the other one would become active, so they overlapped one day.
Right.
Guess what day he died?
The day of the overlap?
Yes!
No!
Yes!
We're back to having the worst luck, right?
Right.
Or is it the best luck? I don't know. Do both pay out or do
yes,
none pay?
They both pay out.
Oh, well, we're back to having the best luck.
So he died on the day the policies overlapped of a cerebral hemorrhage. Gunness, Belle, said that he came home with a headache and she gave him some quinine powder for the pain.
Yeah, quinine.
I've never heard of it. Apparently, it helps with malaria, leg cramps, internal hemorrhoids, varicose veins.
I think, if I remember, quinine is the active thing in tonic water.
Oh.
And it does help with malaria and stuff like that, which is why they used to, like...
Oh.
Yeah. Like,
okay. Because when I looked it up, I'm like, oh, they still sell this?
It also fluoresces under blacklight. So if you're ever at a shady club and you need to order something that's cool, get something with tonic because your drink will glow under the black lights.
Okay. Didn't know.
Well.
So, anyway, so she gave him some of that powder, and then she checked on him later, and he was just dead.
Oh, well.
You know.
Put him in someone's bathtub. I still can't get over it. If this is the first episode that you're listening to, go back and listen to last week's.
Exactly.
It's a hoot and holler.
So she collected money from both policies, totaling about $5,000. Mm-hmm. I did not check to see how much that was for 1900, but I assume it was a lot.
Sure.
With the payout, she ended up moving to LaPorte, Indiana, and she bought a pig farm with her money.
Well, don't tell her that she doesn't know how to have a good time. I mean, if I ever strike it rich, Janet, I am headed straight to LaPorte, Indiana. Pig farm, here I come. Living my best life.
Exactly.
So Belle is happier than a pig in LaPorte.
I guess.
And?
April 1st, 1902, she ends up marrying Peter Gunness, where she ends up with her last name.
Alrighty.
One day, while Peter was out, he already had an infant daughter, I guess, shortly after they got married. And the infant daughter was in Belle's care, and she mysteriously died while he was out.
Oh gosh, I was really hoping that was not going to be the case,
But then 8 months later, Peter died due to a skull injury. She claimed he reached for something on a high shelf and a meat grinder fell on him, smashing his skull. Now, all the neighbors and people who knew him, they're like, apparently he had been doing farming and pig farming for a long time. They're like, no, he was not that kind of guy. Like, he was an accident prone. So that was a little
He
odd.
Wasn't the kind of guy that would reach for a meat grinder?
I don't know. Why would you put a meat grinder, way above your head? I don't know. Doesn't matter. So, again, I still didn't look this up. Do coroners have juries?
I didn't think...
Because this is a second story I'm running into. The coroner has a jury.
Okay. Or maybe the coroner's inquest is called into question and then tried...
I don't know.
I'm spitballing here.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm going to have to research that. So the district coroner convened a coroner's jury suspecting murder, but nothing came of it. And Belle collected $3,000 insurance payout on her second husband's death.
So this is she's had quite a few insurance payouts.
Yes. Candy store, house, 2 infants. We don't know about his infant. Probably, I would assume. They didn't mention it.
So 3...
Both husbands.
So candy store, house, 2 husbands, 3 babies.
Yes.
I mean, and nobody is...
I don't know how you get away. And she doesn't leave Indiana.
Right, so she's still in LaPorte?
Yeah.
Oh my gracious.
So after this happens, Belle starts putting out marriage ads in Chicago.
This is the part that I think I have remembered about the story. Like,
Yes.
hey, boys.
She starts putting out marriage ads in Chicago newspapers in 1905. The first person to answer was a Wisconsin farmhand, Henry Gerholt. When he arrived, he wrote to his family saying he liked the farm and he wanted them to send him some seeds so he could grow some potatoes out there.
Okay.
And that was the last time they heard from him.
Oh.
So the family stopped hearing from him and they contacted Belle. They're like, what's going on?
Where's Henry?
Right. And Belle told them that he went to Chicago with horse traders.
And never...
But she held on to his trunk and fur overcoat.
Well.
And that was it. Then,
who needs a fur coat in Chicago? It's not like it gets cold up there.
No, snow, lake effect, what? Then we have John Moe of Minnesota. He answered the ad in 1906, and they corresponded for several months. Then, she really was trying to convince him, you should come down, you should come, come over.
Come to Chicago,
So, no, to
or
LaPorte.
to LaPorte, rather.
Right. And so he withdrew a large amount of cash and traveled to LaPorte. No one saw him again. But a carpenter who apparently would come to her house every once in a while to do work at her farmhouse and all that, he noticed that his trunk was still there.
Oh.
Along with more than a dozen other trunks.
Right, because she's kind of...
She's collecting. And, really a lot of these people, they were not reported on. Like...
Right, well, somebody.
April 1908, Belle's farmhouse burns down to the ground.
Insurance?
They found a headless adult woman and Belle's 3 children.
Well, I mean, why am I surprised?
Why are you surprised?
Like, oh my gosh, surely she didn't kill, like, the 5th, 6th, and 7th ones.
No. I know there was one daughter that apparently did get out, like, before this ever happened, like, left the family, moved in with her sister or something.
Good.
So she had one child that survived this whole ordeal. So when the police came and they were checking everything out, they found partial remains on her property of 11 additional people.
Oh my gracious.
The headless woman was believed to be Belle because they found her partial. So she had like dentures, right? So they found the partial and near the body, but they never found the head.
Right.
The dentist did confirm the partial was hers.
But that's
that's easy.
That's like, oh well, we found her like wallet or her
right. I mean, yeah, it was in her head, but like you can remove a partial.
Her wig, her glasses,
exactly.
whatever.
So the dentist was like, I don't think this is Belle. The police did they were contacted by this guy, ASLE, Helgenlein. He found correspondence between his brother Andrew and Belle in his house, and he lost track of his brother. The letters asked him to move to LaPorte, bring money, and keep it a secret.
Okay.
So clearly there was a lot of that going on, and I'm sure that's why she had the multiple trunks. Most of these people kept silent. Right. They're like, oh, this sounds like a great idea, right?
Right.
The brother, they ended up going where they found most of these bodies. I mean, they were on the property, but a lot of them were in the pig pen themselves.
Oh.
They'd find these like kind of depressed areas in the ground, and they would dig them up, and they would find like burlap sacks. When they found his brother, they found a bag with 2 hands, 2 feet, and 1 head. And he was able to say the head was his brother's head.
Oh, that's awful.
Right.
How terrible to have to... Oh.
Yeah, so they found several of these depressions. Found multiple burlap sacks with torsos, hands, arms, and they were all decapitated.
What about the shoulders, knees, and toes?
They found some shoulders. I don't know. Now, there was some stories that's possible that the pigs ate some of the remains.
Right, that was common,
Yeah.
I guess, popular.
And then most of the remains were not identified. At one point, the police just stopped counting. They got to 11. They're just like, yeah, no.
We'll just put many.
Exactly. So there was one guy that survived this whole thing. And it was her original farmhand that she hired, Ray Lamphere. He was a hired hand of Belle's, and they were in an on-again, off-again relationship.
Okay, well, ain't we all been there?
He was convicted in November of 1908 of arson and tied to her house burning down. So they were it was being pinned on him. Later, he confessed that she placed the ads seeking male companionship only to murder and rob the men who responded. So he already knew about this.
Sure, he was in.
Yeah, he kind of knew what was going on. He claimed she asked him to burn the farmhouse down with the children inside.
Oh my gosh! And he did.
Yeah.
Oh.
The body. He believes that the body, he claims, was another murder victim of hers.
Find somebody that looks a little bit like you, dress them up in your dress, throw your dentures down on the tables, light the house on fire. Goodbye, kids.
Right, and if you move the head, then you can't say it was not that person. Right, and they planted that dead body in order to mislead the investigation.
Also, who takes the head but leaves the dentures behind?
Right, I know, right?
That's foolishness.
I know, it doesn't make any sense.
It does not.
A brother of one of the missing men warned Belle. This is all coming from Ray. A brother of one of the missing men warned Belle he was going to arrive on her property and investigate his missing brother.
Good.
And this is what prompted her to burn the house down.
We'll show up and see,
Right. So,
welcome to my ashtray. Feel free to look around.
Yeah, motivated Belle to destroy the house, fake her death, and flee.
Oh.
When he was arrested, when Ray was arrested, he was found wearing John Moe's overcoat and Henry Gurlitt's watch.
Oh.
So he was wearing two of the first victims' stuff.
You know, that happens all the time. And why is it always a watch?
I don't
know. These men, they just cannot resist a nice timepiece.
Oh my God. Now, apparently there was a second confession from him stating that he had killed Belle and he killed everybody with an axe and burnt the house down. But I'm sure he was hem-hawing on this whole thing. Probably because he was probably the only person out of everyone that actually liked her.
Completely.
You know? Yeah. He's like, what do I do? Oh, you know.
I'll try to help her out. Yeah. Which, liked her to the tune of killing children,
exactly.
Her. That's kind of...
Yeah.
That's not love.
No.
That's not what love looks like.
When Belle was pronounced dead, the doctor who performed the post-mortem testified her body was 5 inches shorter and 50 pounds lighter than Belle.
Well, stress will take it out of you.
No explanation for what happened.
Honey, I shrank the murderer.
Oh my God. There was no explanation of what happened to the head that went missing. But after the fact, apparently there were several sightings of her in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
In 2008, they tried to...
2008?
2008. Wow. There was a group that they wanted to confirm it was not her. So they pulled her remains and they tried to test the DNA with a letter she sent someone. But the DNA was just
inconclusive.
Yeah, not able to find it. Now, here's an interesting fact. The farm became a tourist attraction.
Okay.
So people would show up to see the mass graves, and they had set up concession stands and souvenirs.
No.
Yes! Because, what do you do?
I want more details,
I have a picture of a postcard.
Please, when was this? Because in my head, I've got, visions of, a Mold-A-Rama machine and, cotton candy and...
Just What?
One out of every 100 cones is poison.
So that's a postcard of the farm.
Oh, okay. It looks kind of very idyllic. There are a bunch of people kind of in nice dress standing out in front of it.
Right.
Several different buildings, kind of like lots of space to walk around.
So I'm going to show you a picture of Belle.
Okay.
This is Belle.
Belle Gunness. She has got a very sour face. It might just be that we both went to go see.
That's just sour.
It might just be we both went to go see the Goonies.
Oh yeah.
So she reminds me of the mama, right. Like just you know. And
here's a picture of her and her children. Same look.
Oh wow, she's like, I cannot wait to get rid of that. Oh, are these some of the children?
Yeah, probably.
Oh gosh, that's awful.
Now here is Ray. He looks a little...
He's a little wild in the eyes.
Yes, he is! This is the farmhouse before it burnt down.
Okay. Small, kind of modest.
Right.
Also, so farmhouse burned down, but there are several buildings. Was it all of them?
No, just the farmhouse.
Just the farmhouse itself.
This is the burnt down farmhouse.
And everybody is like, it looks like the skating rink in Times Square. You know, everybody is just like crowding in. I imagine that probably hindered the investigation as well, is that I bet everybody was trying to like take their little piece. I want a brick, I want a piece of wood, I want...
And then here is one of the grave spots.
Oh, wow.
It's just... Yeah, it's just a dirt pile.
Just a very small, shallow grave.
Hats standing around.
Wow.
So I'm going to read you the reason why, one of the reasons why I think she was able to get these guys to come to her is she was very good at letter writing.
Okay. Oh.
Because, you know, that's what you do in the 1800s. You got a letter write.
Well, now it's like if somebody's really good at texting and can be like really clever and flirty, you can get them on the hook. All right, so what has she got?
So this is a letter that she wrote to one of the men.
Mm-hmm.
To the dearest friend in the world, no woman in the world is happier than I am. I know that you are now to come to me and be my own.
Eggplant emoji.
I can tell from your letters that you are the man I want. I'm sorry, I keep giggling.
It's okay.
It does not take one long to tell when to like a person, and you I like better than anyone in the world. I know. Think how we will enjoy each other's company. You, the sweetest man in the world, in the whole world. We will be all alone with each other. Can you conceive of anything nicer? I think of you constantly when I hear your name mentioned, and this is when one of the dear children speaks of you, or I hear myself humming it with the words of an old love song. It is beautiful music to my ears. My heart beats in wild rapture for you. My Andrew, I love you. Come prepared and stay forever. Stay forever is just so creepy.
Well... Can do.
You're not going anywhere.
She is saucy though. I can understand. She knows how to lay the trap.
I know. She's really good at letter writing.
Mm-hmm.
So in LaPorte County, apparently the historical museum there does have a permanent Belle Gunness exhibit.
Okay.
So they do. You know, it's a small town. It's got to have that, right? There were movies made about this. Mm-hmm. One in 2004 called The Method. It starred Elizabeth Hurley as Beth.
Okay.
In 2021, there was another movie called The Farm, and Tracy Lords also starred as Beth.
Okay.
And then this is where you know
it's
it
nice
from.
to see she's still working.
This is where Tracy definitely knows the whole story from. My Favorite Murder Podcast.
That's right. I did hear the episode.
And it came out in 2017.
Although you hit upon things that I don't recall from that episode, so I am glad to hear the story told again.
So there was a book also, a nonfiction in 2018 called Hell's Princes, The Mystery of Belle Gunness, Butcher of Men by Harold Schechner. And then there was another book called In the Garden of Spite, a novel of the Black Widow of Laporte.
Nice.
That was put out in 2021 by Camilla Bruce. And then there's a fictional version in 2023, a Norwegian novel called My Men. And that was written by Victoria Killand.
Fantastic. Oh my gosh.
So,
Janet, thank you for bringing me things that I did not know about Belle Gunness.
Just crazy.
Such
and
a
there's
good
so
story.
much more. I could have went on and on, but
Oh,
I'm
I
like,
know.
no, I got to pare this down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some more references. I'll put them on the show notes, but there's one that shows they did figure out some of the more other people. They figured out who they were, but they clearly don't know how many.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, and then lastly, they believe she actually died in 1930.
Oh, okay.
So that's when they think she really died, because there was several sightings of her in Chicago. And then there's another story where she ended up becoming a prominent landowner in Mississippi. So, and then there's another story where there's somebody out west who got put in jail for poisoning her husband. That might have been her, but we'll never know.
But yeah.
Yeah, we'll never ever know.
Fantastic.
So, that's my story.
The story of Belle Gunness. Thank you so very much.
Welcome.
All right.
So I'm excited to hear your story.
I do also have a story.
Yay.
And so I am going to tell you a story about a revered man and also a reviled man.
Oh, okay.
Spoiler alert. They're the same man.
Of course they are.
All right. So also this story, I know normally we start off talking about like where our story comes from.
Right.
In this case, I don't have a particular city or a state.
Okay.
We're going to focus on one place in particular as we go along.
Gotcha.
But this story actually kind of takes place throughout several states throughout the Midwest, because we are going to talk about a river pirate.
Ooh!
Did you know?
We're going pirate.
We're going pirate. We're going full pirate for this one. Did you know, Janet, that there were once pirates on the Ohio River?
No, but the Ohio River is certainly a very large river.
Yes.
So that is not surprising.
So there were once pirates along the Ohio River, and perhaps the most famous of them was a man named Samuel Mason.
Okay.
So Mason is born in Norfolk, Virginia, and 1774 he is in Wheeling, Pennsylvania, and he joins military service.
Okay.
He starts out, he is fighting for the side of, on the side of the Patriots during the American Revolution, and so 1774 he's in Wheeling, he enters military service. 1777 he has kind of distinguished himself in military service, and so he's chosen to lead a militia.
Oh.
Now, back at this point in time, militiamen chose their own leaders.
Oh, okay.
So this is not only, is he a great soldier, but the people that he is, fighting with really respect him.
Oh, wow, okay.
And so they want to, they want him in charge. Men pick their own leaders. He starts out as a militia leader. September 1st, 1977, he is stationed at Fort Henry.
Okay.
And this is the first siege of Fort Henry. The fort is surrounded by indigenous people.
Right.
And they send out a group of about 14 people from the fort to kind of defend the fort against the siege. Mason is the only person that survives.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There are 3, I think, indigenous people that are killed during this battle, and Mason was responsible for 2 of them.
Oh, wow.
So he is very brave. He's very, good at combat. He is a soldier. He is the sole survivor. He goes in, back into the military, finishes his time, And post-service, he opens a tavern.
Oh, okay.
So he's still, up there in Pennsylvania. He has a tavern. By the mid-1780s, he's in some financial trouble.
Oh.
I think his farm has been foreclosed upon. His tavern isn't doing well. There's nothing left for him in Pennsylvania. And this kind of becomes like a theme in his life. Like, he moves from place to place. So he goes from Pennsylvania and he goes to Ohio. And when he gets to Ohio, he's having a harder time making an honest living.
Okay.
So he kind of starts to go a little dark.
Okay.
In Ohio, he becomes kind of a land swindler.
Oh,
no. I'm going to sell you something that I don't actually own.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to be, not there when you come looking, for me. So he becomes kind of a con man and a land swindler. And he gets to where he has to leave town.
I wonder why.
So this is kind of where things start to change for him. And this is where I'm going to bring up my first photo.
Okay.
I'm going to show you the Ohio River Valley.
Right.
So he goes from, so you can see up here, there's Pennsylvania,
Yes.
It goes Ohio, and then you just kind of go south.
Oh, yeah. Right.
So he goes from Ohio to Tennessee. Same sort of deal in Tennessee.
Right.
He goes from Tennessee to Kentucky. In Kentucky, he's pulling the same sort of nonsense. Mason is back on his bullshit.
Oh, no.
He's pulling the same sort of nonsense. They send a constable to investigate him. He shoots and kills the constable.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, then they send in what was kind of maybe more effective than the law, if there was law in those days. They send in regulators.
Okay.
Anybody?
I don't know what a regulator is.
A regulator is basically, they are kind of like appointed to keep the peace, even though they are not really law enforcement. If you've watched any of the Young Guns movies, they talk about, the regulators there just kind of to help control petty theft in places where there maybe weren't structured lawmen.
Right.
So they send in a particular group of regulators that call themselves the Exterminators.
Oh my gosh.
And they're led by a man named Captain Young, who is of Mercer County, Kentucky. Well, they send in the Exterminators, and Mason decides that it's time to move on. So he's gone from Pennsylvania, Ohio, Tennessee, Kentucky. Now they're running him out of Kentucky.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So when they run you out of Kentucky, you go just across the Ohio River and you go to Illinois.
Exactly.
And so his next stop is where we're going to stop for a while and talk a little bit about what happened to Mason here.
Okay.
And the funny thing is, Mason really only spent about 6 months here, but they were memorable months.
Okay.
And that is, we are now at Cave-In Rock.
Okay.
Cave-In Rock is in Illinois.
I think I've heard of Cave-In Rock.
I was going to say, you might have. It is...
I think they have, cabins you can rent in the rock.
You might, but, so here is a picture of Cave-In Rock.
Oh, wow.
And again, Muddy Buddies, you can see all of these photos on our show notes.
That is neat.
Janet, can you explain kind of what it is that we're looking at here?
So, it looks like maybe there is definitely water coming out of it in the middle, and it's just a big cliff, and I see there's a guy standing to it. The cave, I would say he's probably about 5.5, 6 foot tall, and the cave is at least 20 feet above his head, and it's probably about 25, 30 feet across, and it's just dark. I mean, it looks like, I assume this is it's right next to the Ohio River.
It's on the Ohio River.
Yeah, so this is clearly probably one of the springs that runs into the Ohio River, and it's a neat looking cave. I would totally wander in there.
It really is. So the Cave-In Rock, which is, it was made a state park in 1929. It is 55 feet wide.
Ooh, so it's way bigger than I thought.
It is. It's bigger than it even looks like.
Yes.
It's 55 feet wide at its widest point. It was formed by wind, water, and also the 1811 and 1812 New Madrid Fault earthquakes.
Oh,
so the earthquakes make it even like bigger.
That's
so it's
crazy.
So there's this big giant rock, and a giant cave in the middle of it. It is near the confluence of the Ohio and the Mississippi rivers. Loads of travel. The Ohio River at this point in time is practically an interstate.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Something like 10,000 boats a year that go down the river. So that's a plus and a minus. The plus, if you're Samuel Mason, is that there is a ton of cargo that is coming through this channel.
Right.
So there, most of the cargo, it's going downriver and it's going on flatboats, which are big, giant cargo boats. Mm-hmm. They're slow. They go 3 to 4 miles an hour.
Yes, they do.
They are slow. They are very easy to overtake.
Yeah.
And the downside, though, is that you are right at the confluence of the Ohio and Mississippi rivers, and there are lots of eyes on you. Mm-hmm. So whatever it is that you're going to do, somebody might see it.
Right.
And Mason is no exception to this. In fact, this is where he gains the nickname Wolfman.
Okay.
He has a tendency to, his pirate gang is kind of up in the rock.
Oh.
But he does most of his living in the woods.
Okay.
And if there's somebody that he really thinks, kind of needs killing, he drags them back into the woods and does it there.
Oh, wow.
Out of prying eyes. Oh. In fact, one of the sources that I read today said that they found a couple of bodies where he had even written in blood, Mason did it in the woods.
Oh my God.
So in addition to that, Mason also has a lot of people in his sphere. So not only the pirates that are kind of running with him and are part of his gang, but he has people all the way down the river, especially like in Mississippi and Louisiana, that will help him fence his goods.
Oh, okay.
So he can rob these boats and then send stuff down the river and then sell it off in New Orleans.
So he's got connections to get rid of the stuff really fast.
Right.
Yeah.
So there are 2 ways that he makes money off of these people that he's robbing. The first one, you pretend that you want to buy the goods.
Oh,
You get on the boat, you rob the boat, you either kill or strand the crew, and then you fence the stuff down the river.
Right.
Now, the second thing that he did, and this is kind of fun, is in Cave and Rock itself. Mm-hmm. And they call it going to see the varmint.
Okay.
Now, going to see the varmint started out as people are coming down the river. You're like, hey, mister, oh my gosh, we found this weird cave critter in this cave. I've never seen nothing like it before. Maybe you have. Can you help me identify it?
Right.
Do you want to see a strange creature that you've no one's ever seen before? I mean, I don't know about you, but I would be like, I'm going to pet it. So you follow them into the cave.
Oh my God.
Bonk, snatch, and going to see the varmint. Well, going to see the varmint ends up with kind of a wider definition in that when Mason is there, one of the things he does is there's a bar set up at the back of the cave. There's a little bit of a bordello set up at the back of the cave.
Wow.
So you're on the river for weeks and weeks, months and months. Someone asks if you want to go see the varmint, and you know that the varmint is going to be a hot woman and a cold drink.
You want to go.
You want to go. So, but the same sort of thing falls to these people.
Yeah, same thing.
Whoever the varmint is, whatever the varmint is,
just
it ends poorly for the poor sap in the cave. Now, while we're at Cave and Rock, if you don't mind, I'm going to take us on a little detour.
Okay. Where are we going?
Well, we're staying at Cave and Rock, but we're going to talk about some different people for a moment.
Sure.
So we have Samuel Mason. He's kind of the head honcho here at Cave and Rock. But he has a whole bunch of folks that are kind of part of his gang.
Okay.
2 of the people that are part of his gang are the Harpe Brothers.
Okay, the Harpe Brothers.
The Harpe Brothers are America's first serial killers.
Oh my gosh.
They predate H.H. Holmes.
Oh, okay.
They are really, truly America's most, first and, very, very bloody serial killers.
Wow.
So, we have, and I'm going to bring up my phone, and I'm going to show you a photo. Or a drawing. There were no photos.
Right.
So here is a drawing of the Harpe Brothers.
Wow.
Do you have
they
comments?
So they look scraggly. That's a word. One has super long beard. Their hats are torn and shredded and
wide brimmed.
Yes, the wide brimmed. Oh right, yeah, because pirates.
Right.
Yeah, they look a little piratey.
They do.
They really, really do.
And a little dirty, a little scruffy. So the Harpe Brothers, they are two men. The first one is Micajah, I think, Micajah. Micajah.
Okay.
Who is also known as Joshua Harpe, and he is known as Big Harpe.
Okay.
Now there's also Wiley, who is William Harpe, who is known as Little Harpe.
Okay.
So we've got Big and Little.
Big and Little Harpe.
Like Mason, they start out as soldiers and kind of end up as criminals. But the difference is, Mason was a patriot that fought on the side of the Americans in the Revolution. So the Harpe Brothers, they were Tories. They were Crown loyalists. They fought.
Oh wow! So they fought for the Queen.
For the British,
yeah.
right. So anyway, they fought on the side of the Crown. A little unusual, but they end up together. Now, another difference between the Harpes and Mason is that the Harpes, they kill for fun.
Oh.
They're thrill killers. Killing spree included at least 39 victims.
Holy cow.
Including infants for crying too loudly, women, children, it does not matter.
Wow.
They have a tendency to open up the cavities of the bodies that they kill and weigh them down with rocks and then throw them in the river.
Holy crap.
To dispose of them, but they also liked to urinate into the cavities of their victims.
Oh my god.
For fun.
Oh my god.
Yeah. They're terrible.
Wow.
Terrible people. These are just barely, there's no humanity to these men.
No.
While with Mason at Cave and Rock, they thought it was real fun to take people up to the top of the bluff, strip them naked. I think in the first case, they actually strip the people naked and then blindfold a horse, tie them to the horse, and then slap the horse on the ass and make it run off the cliff with the person behind it.
Oh my god.
But then they get yelled at for, wasting a perfectly good horse.
Forget about the person.
Right. So then they start bringing people up to the top of the bluff, stripping them down, and then just pushing them off the bluff. They come back down, they're both laughing. They think it's the funniest thing they've ever seen. Mason does not agree with them.
No.
He kicks them out.
Oh, he kicked them out. Wow.
Just to reiterate, the Harpe Brothers were kicked out.
Yeah, that's not going to end well for Mason, is it?
Oh, no. They were kicked out of piracy. When the pirates that are killing people are a bridge too far,
it's not going to be...
It's not good.
This is not going to end well.
No, and it doesn't, because 6 months after they're kicked out of the Mason gang, Big Harpe, he is captured and he's killed by a posse.
Okay. They probably needed to do that.
Yes. Well, he's captured, he's injured, and gets caught by a posse. He, again, like I said, amongst the murders that they did, one of them was, at least one time they killed an infant for crying too loudly. So, Big Harpe is beheaded.
Oh, wow.
And they give the honor of beheading him to the father of the infant that he had killed.
Wow.
So he gets
revenge.
Little Harpe escapes for now.
Okay.
So there's not much more on there's a lot more about the Harpe brothers, but we're here to talk about Samuel Mason,
right.
So I didn't let myself get too distracted here. Although, wow, they could have been their own whole thing.
Yeah, so this definitely predates the whole Bender thing.
Correct. Well, we're just getting to 1800.
Yeah, and the Benders is like in the middle. So
correct, right. Yeah. So this does predate the Benders.
I just think it's funny. There's so many stories out there saying, this is the first serial killer. Mm-hmm. This is the first. And I'm like, no, not really.
We will arm wrestle for it at the break.
Exactly.
Janet's going to beat me. So 1800, too much heat in the Ohio River Valley, too much heat at Cave and Rock. So Mason decides that he's going to go to the Mississippi River Valley. Remember, he has all these contacts down south.
Yes, absolutely.
So he goes to the Mississippi River Valley, where he starts out as kind of what is now modern-day Arkansas.
Okay.
He robs boats along the Mississippi River. Eventually, he is captured by the Spanish.
Oh.
So, the Spanish people that capture him, they're like, well, the leaders, the Spanish leaders are all down in New Orleans, so we're going to send you down the river to New Orleans. They send him down to New Orleans, and they have a 3-day trial to see if this man is, in fact, a pirate.
Okay.
Now, he's like, I am not a pirate. I am just a simple farmer. All I'm trying to do is just live out my life. I have my farm. I care about the land. This is all I want to do. And it almost works.
Almost.
They almost buy it. But in investigating and looking at him during this 3-day trial, which, by the way, James Madison recorded all of this trial because they were keeping tabs on the Spanish, right?
Right.
So we have so much information about this case because of the records of that trial.
Wow.
All of the every transcript is available in the I think Mississippi Department of Mississippi Archives.
Wow, that's amazing.
So you can read the whole thing.
Wow.
So he almost gets away with being the farmer. He has about $7,000 in cash.
Okay.
Farmers in this day do not
have cash like that.
$7,000 in cash. And okay, well, is it a crime to have money? Of course not. But he also has 20 human scalps.
Why? Oh my God.
Turns out you don't farm scalps.
What? That's not a farming practice? Are you sure about that?
So, this is a problem. He is clearly not a farmer.
No.
But this is the Spanish governor, and this is right at the time that the 1800, this is right as the Louisiana Purchase is kind of coming to fruition.
Yes.
So the Spanish governor is like, I do not have time for this ish. I don't. I just, he takes a look at the things that he can even, and this is not one of them.
This is not one of them.
He cannot even. So most of these crimes have taken place in American territory.
Right.
So it's sort of Jesus Christ Superstar, like your Herod's case, right? He's like, the Americans need to just deal with this.
Right, not my problem.
I'm busy.
I'm busy.
So I'm going to send you back to the Americans. Let them deal with this.
Exactly.
They send him back to Mississippi for trial. But during the transport...
Does he escape?
Well... You guessed it. He and one of his fellow passengers, they get a hold of a gun. I don't know how. They shoot the commanding officer / guard.
Okay.
I don't know why there's only one. They escape.
Okay.
So Mason, during the escape, though, is shot in the head. Mm-hmm. But, details. He still makes it to the woods, and he's in the wind. He and his fellow prisoner, whew,
right.
like, pew, pew, run. So there's a reward issued.
Okay.
It's over $2,000.
Wow, that's a big reward.
It really is. Today,
yeah.
I couldn't get an actual number, but they said that it would have been equal to about 4 or 5 years' salary for a skilled laborer.
Yeah, that's a big reward.
So that's a huge reward. That's the kind of reward that turns loyalties.
Right, exactly.
So the reward works. 2 minor criminals just kind of being held on, like petty theft and all of that. Well, they come forward and they bring in the head of Samuel Mason.
Oh my gosh.
For a couple of days, they are the toast of the town. Mm. They are heroes. A couple of days, they're just like, oh my gosh, thank goodness you've saved us from this monster. And have I shown you the picture of Samuel Mason? Let me go ahead and show you a photo.
Yes, scraggly. It's a drawing.
It is a drawing. Well, because there were no...
Yeah, definitely beard, messed up hair, kind of dark. He definitely has dark under his eyes, dark hair, and he's kind of burly looking to me.
If Hagrid had gone to the bad... Right?
Yes.
All right. So for a couple of days, they're heroes. But then a couple of people that work on the river and all of that, they're like, man, this guy looks familiar. So they start to recognize at least one of the two.
Right.
Like, wow, they look familiar. And the reason that they look familiar is because one of them is a man named Peter Alston, a.k.a. James May, who was a former member of Mason's crew.
Oh, okay.
So one of them is Peter Alston, who was a member of Mason's crew. And the other one is Little Harpe.
Oh, yeah. Little Harpe still mad. Little Harpe's still mad.
Little Harpe is also the other guy. Now, it's unclear if Mason died because of the head injury, and they were like, well, it's his head, he's not using it anymore, and we can get some money out of it, or if they finished the job.
Yeah.
We still don't know. But Alston and Little Harpe were both hanged in Greenville, Mississippi as pirates. Shortly after that, piracy does begin to die down on the Ohio River, and it ends entirely in the 1830s to 1840s for 2 reasons. Number one, the flatboats, remember, they were only able to go 3 to 4 miles an hour, so they were very easy to overtake. Well, they start moving as flotillas with armed guards. Safety in numbers.
Oh, yep, absolutely.
So they start moving 5 and 6 at a time with an armed guard boat at the front of it. And you could maybe overtake 1 flatboat, but you can't overtake 6.
Right, exactly.
And number 2, and this is maybe what kind of is the final nail in the coffin for river piracy on the Ohio, steamboats, travel.
Yes.
And they are faster. They're too fast for pirates.
Wow.
So they are able to outrun the pirates.
That's crazy.
Now, if you want to have a little bit more of the Samuel Mason story, and just a little flight of fancy and entertainment about that time in history, there's a movie called How the West Was Won.
Okay.
Starring Jimmy Stewart.
Right.
And Jeb Hawkins is a character in the movie. He's played by Walter Brennan.
Uh-huh.
Jeb Hawkins is a river pirate that is based on Samuel Mason.
Okay.
So you can see a picture of Walter Brennan there dressed up as a river pirate.
Yep.
In How the West Was Won. We'll put all of these in the show notes.
Awesome.
So if you want to, if you are not done with this story yet, a little bit more fly to fancy about Samuel Mason in that movie. My sources today were Wikipedia, historycollection.com, Weelunk, WEELUNK.com, richlandroots.com, legendofamerica.com, and then a book called Between the Rivers, a West Carroll Chronicle, written by F.S. McKoin.
Wow, that was an amazing story.
Thank you.
That was really, really good. I did not expect pirates.
No one ever does.
That was awesome.
All right.
Yay.
So thank you so much for listening. And now I think that it's time for us to take a little bit of a break.
It's definitely time to take a little break.
And we'll come back for What's Nice.
Yep, we'll be back for What's Nice. If you enjoy getting muddy with us, here are some ways you can help support the podcast. Like and subscribe to the podcast on the platform where you are listening. And of course, a good review will always help us reach new listeners. If you're listening on YouTube, leave a comment in the comments section. Join our Facebook group where we can discuss the episodes and hear your suggestions. And of course, tell your friends. And now, let's go back to What's Nice.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. So now we're going to do our What's Nice for our stories. I'm going to start first. Mine is What's Nice in LaPorte, Indiana.
Okay.
So I struggled a little bit. It's just not a lot going on. I mean, LaPorte, it definitely was there in the earlier 1800s, I think 1820s, 1830s. Right. They do have one of the biggest oldest fairgrounds in Indiana. Mm-hmm. When I mentioned LaPorte to my father earlier today, he's like, I know where that is. We used to go there all the time because of the fairs. I'm like, of course he did. Of course he did. So I struggled a little, but then I found something very interesting.
Okay.
There's a man by the name of Carroll Carter, Carder. He's about 67 years old.
Okay.
He's a middle child. He's a little peculiar. Mm-hmm. In the 1990s, he lives just right on the outskirts of LaPorte, so just like right next door, basically. And in the 1990s, one of his nephews robbed him.
Oh, no.
And again, Carl is a little peculiar.
Okay.
So he ended up building a jail.
For his nephew?
Yes! I don't think he held him in very, very long. But
a one-man bespoke jail.
He made a jail for his nephew. His hobbies... His hobby started to progress a little. And then he just started making things that basically, if you were living in medieval times, things that you would find that might torture people.
All right.
He started to build shackles, iron collars, Spanish ticklers. In his front yard of his house, he has restored amusement park rides, and his house is basically open 6 months a year where you can spend $5 and go ride these rides and tour the barn that is on his property where he has built all of these things. Uh-huh. He's basically a crazy artist.
The rest of his D&D troupe does not come over anymore, right? Wow.
He has handmade hatchets. Mutilation shears, medieval skull crusher. He even has an electric chair, a rack, and a guillotine.
Is he a married man?
I don't think so. Basically, he's built all of these things from pics from the internet and material he has bought from the hardware store.
Wow.
He's spent more than $300,000 creating dozens of medieval torture devices.
Do you think, quick sidebar, do you think that the people at the local LaPorte hardware store are back in the back, rock, paper, scissoring to see who has to go help?
According to people...
Creepy McCreeperson.
According to people who know him, They say he's gentle, he's a very nice guy, and he just likes, this is his hobby.
Torture chambers?
He likes building things. It basically, he displays them in the barn, so you can go there and ride the rides, and you can go see the things that he has built. This is his hobby. It's basically his form of art.
Some people even come back.
He has one particular one called A Scavenger's Daughter, which is a 16th century metal rack.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if it's what's nice, but that's what I got.
Janet, can you read that sentence back again? I'm sorry. Tell me again about the Scavenger's Daughter?
It's a 16th century metal rack.
All right. Okay.
So, yeah.
Cool.
Exactly. Yes. One of the Chicago newspapers did an article on this guy. And I couldn't find any pictures, really. I did find one picture of him, and that's all I had. And he doesn't look amazing. He just looks like some dude. So, yeah, this is him right here.
Oh wow, he is older than I would have expected.
Yeah.
Standing in front of a guillotine.
Yep. That he built.
Maybe a bowling ball in front of it. I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
He does not look like what I pictured.
No, not at all.
But he's kind of like if you put your grandpa and like a punk rock musician into like a mix-up machine.
Yes.
This is what it would spit out.
Right. I mean, he looks like
fair.
He's a fair-looking guy. But yeah, that's his hobby. He has a full-time job, but when he comes home, this is what he does. This is his hobby.
Oh wow.
So that's what I have for what's nice for LaPorte.
Well, I don't know if I will find myself in LaPorte, but if I am, then I do not want to meet him in person, but I would maybe like to see some of the things that he has built.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Fantastic. Would you like to hear a little bit about what's nice at Cave and Rock?
Yes, I do.
All right, fantastic. So this is a little bit outside of Cave and Rock. Maybe about 20 minutes away. Let's face it, honestly, like there was not much for me to find, in Cave and Rock, Illinois. But what I did find that is just very, very... So Cave and Rock is its own state park established in 1929.
Okay.
And then just a little bit away, maybe 20, 25 minutes away, is Garden of the Gods.
Okay.
Have you ever heard?
Yes, I have. I've been to Garden of the Gods.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes,
okay.
I have.
So normally when you say Garden of the Gods, people think about the park in Colorado, which I have also been to.
Oh, okay.
And it is beautiful. Garden of the Gods is, I think, maybe just either in or a little outside of, and I could be wrong here. Come at me in the comments. Flame me for it. It is near Colorado Springs.
Okay.
Colorado.
Right.
And so it's beautiful and it's all like red rock and all of this.
Nice.
Garden of the Gods, Illinois is camping.
Right.
In small amounts.
Yep.
First come, first serve. But mostly hiking. They are open year-round. It is boulders and rock formations, trails. There's a big, like a half-mile trail that is a really easy hike up along the top of the bluff, and it's a sandstone bluff. The rock formations are 320 million years old.
Nice.
And there are trails for backpacking and for hiking, but also for horseback riding.
Oh.
Now, I don't know whether one has to have one's own horse.
Right.
But boy, I would love to do an equestrian trail there. Ryder, who is from that part of the state, says that Camel Rock, a rock that actually looks like a camel, is maybe kind of the most famous part of the trail.
Oh, nice.
And there is camping. The nearest town is about 20 miles away, so you do need to come prepared. I'm going to show you some pictures here of Garden of the Gods.
Yeah, very
and it
pretty.
is, you have all of the beauty that you see in Missouri and Illinois,
Yes.
like these big, beautiful, green, lush,
Yes.
tree-filled kind of hills, and then also some big, giant, boulder-shaped outcroppings that you can go and just sort of see over the whole entire river valley.
Wow.
And so for me, I think that Garden of the Gods is my what's nice here.
Yeah, no, that's I've been there before. It's been a bit, but it was very, very nice. I really liked it a lot.
All right.
Awesome.
So we've talked about a couple of nice places in places where it was kind of hard to scrape up a what's nice.
Yes.
And we have told some stories of...
interesting stories. Very interesting stories.
like some bad behavior.
Yep,
In
absolutely.
beautiful places.
So much bad behavior. So much bad behavior.
All right. Thank you so much for getting muddy with us and spending time with us. We would again encourage you, if you're enjoying the show, get involved. Leave comments on our YouTube and like our Facebook. That helps other people to find the show.
Right, and share our stories as much as you can, that we definitely love it when other people get to hear about us and hear these amazing stories. So.
Absolutely. But we appreciate you, and we are having the very best time
Absolutely.
learning these stories and sharing them with you.
So I think, what do we say?
We're about ready to sign off for the night, so we are going to leave you and thank you and tell you to please stay Midwest nice.
Stay Midwest nice.